this is the reality now, to be honest. It's not just about financial performance, it's definitely about social impact as well. And I'll tell you a bit more why. But first of all, who am I to even talk to you about this? So very, very, very briefly, I have about 30 years experience in marketing through corporate, small business, and I've run my own business for the last 9 years. And I've also had some commercial experience in that as well. So I understand about commercial aspects and pressures on business people. So I understand kind of like the financial performance, but also what else goes with that and processes behind it. And early last year, I was awarded a level 6 accreditation in sustainability and marketing, which allows me to look at sustainability through a marketing lens. So I can identify opportunities to use sustainable practices to work out some marketing opportunities and grow brand reputation and profit and revenue, but also I can support, lead and drive any responses to sustainable requirements and also those communications that go with that. So first of all, like, what is sustainability? Who doesn't know about sustainability? What a surprise. Yeah. Oh, you put your hand up, Paul. No, you do, because you've been on the podcast. So you know. Yeah, okay. So Mike mentioned ESG criteria, so environment, social and governance. And that tends to be the kind of 3-pillar framework that's generally used when you talk about sustainability, certainly from a reporting point of view. But for me, because it's become quite regulatory and we talk about ESG reporting and criteria, it kind of takes a bit of the emotion out for me. So as a marketer, I love emotion. That's what sells products and services to people. It's what sells businesses to people and values. So I like to break it out into 4 pillars instead, which I think is a bit broader. And from a humanizing point of view, I think it just makes sustainability a little bit more achievable and accessible. So we've still got the environmental element there, so talking about carbon emissions, local habitats, the impact we have when we travel, what energy we use, how we source materials and things like that. But then we're looking at workplace as well. So how we train our employees, what labour practices, ethical practices we have, the governments, the policies we have in place, so all that kind of like governance side under ESG. But then we also look at community. And community can be internal community as well as external community. So it could be your employees as well as your society that's surrounding the sites that you work at or the office you work from. And that's also getting involved in local issues, creating wealth within those societies, looking at projects and groups and educating people. Not just about sustainability, but about what your business stands for, how you're getting involved, how you want to help that social impact. So going back to not just financial performance, but that whole community aspect of your business as well. So the caring side, we want to be caring businesses. And then we've got the philanthropic side as well, which quite often is known as CSR, so corporate social responsibility. And certainly in the past, CSR has been kind of almost, I don't know, just enveloped in kind of like giving money to charity, which is a great thing, by the way. There's no bad news here. It's all good news. But are there other things we can do? So, for example, could we do some volunteering? Could we do pro bono work? Could we do fundraising? Let's see actually what those communities and charities need rather than just chucking money at them. So it makes really true good social impact. So like I said, sustainability is a massive, massive area. And there's lots of elements to it. So I like to actually use one term, with 3 words basically, that cover all of it. And I think it's much easier to comprehend. And it's about being more responsible. So as individuals, being more responsible, whether that's in the workplace or at home, as businesses and organisations, as funders, investors, just being more responsible, being more caring about what we're doing and how we're doing it, who we're impacting on, what we're impacting on, and how we can bring more positive impact. So why does it even matter? So it was perfect. I don't know how Paul did it, but he must have asked the universe to deliver Mike before me because it was a brilliant introduction. The fact that clearly I don't need to say investors are looking for it because investors are looking for it, okay? They're already looking at ESG criteria. But also public sector, again, if you go into tenders for public sector, I'm sure some of you are probably involved in that already, you already have criteria you have to answer to. Also funders will look for the same. And this information here from the British Business Bank, they did some research, and they've quoted these 2 statements. And I think it's really important for people to realise that actually this is true, this is reality now. This is what funders and investors are looking for. So whether you look at it from the 4-pillar point of view or an ESG criteria, more regulatory point of view, it doesn't matter. But please just start embracing that because this is what the reality is for now going forward. And then we've also got our employees. So it's not just the new generations of workplace coming through, it's also all people being employed or looking for investment and things like that. They're looking for purpose-driven organisations. They want to know the background, they want to know the values, they want to understand what the culture's like. Because why would you want to work in somewhere that's really toxic? I mean, people do, God help them. But you want to ideally work somewhere where you're valued and you earn the right to be there and you've got your place in the workplace and you've got a voice. There's also the conscious consumers, so people deciding where to put their money are based on values, again, what reputation a business had. If you've seen the news this week, the whole Tesla thing, that's quite interesting. You know, most of the opinions about it's to do with the leadership in the Tesla organization, which is no surprise, and what they stand for. So brand reputation goes a long way. And then we've got stakeholders. And stakeholders in the past have really been to do with shareholders. And this is a much wider definition now. So this is looking at local community, the environments. It could be local business communities, whatever that is. But it's a much wider picture. It's not just about shareholders. So there's growing pressure from all sides, basically. So all these voices are asking for this information. So if you're not in the running already, then you need to really consider it, because otherwise you might get left behind, and we don't want that. So, and there's also evidence to demonstrate that balancing profit and purpose for a wider gain, there's definitely long-term value. And let's face it, don't we want our businesses to last? So what's in it for you? It's all very well about all that lot. What's in it for you as business owners or business leaders? So one of it is brand reputation. So your brand's one of your most valuable assets in your business. It's the DNA of your company. It demonstrates what the experience is going to be like working with you. It translates your values, all that kind of stuff. So being able to boost that puts you ahead of your competition straight away. That means more market share, more sales, more profits, more investment, reinvestment in your business, whatever that might be. Retaining and attracting better talent. Reasons for people to share about your company. You can command premium pricing if you want to. You can find new customers and markets. But ultimately going down to increase profit and revenue. And there are another three pillars, if you like, to looking at business. It's about looking after the environment. It's about looking after people. It's also about looking after the longevity of your business. So making sure you've got money to pay your employees. Making sure you can reinvest and find more efficiencies there as well. And then equally, you've got organisational longevity. So by embracing sustainability or ESG or the 4 pillars I've mentioned, then you can look to finding efficiencies and drive innovation within the business. So ultimately, hopefully, you'll get some long-term cost savings as well. Again, full circle. More reinvestment, then more efficiency, more innovation. You can look at collaborative partnerships, which might actually produce more revenue streams or new customer bases, new products and services, and really innovate the market and the industry. It also means that you can become an influencer for your industry. And again, that reflects back to brand reputation. The more you can stand on a platform and talk about what good you're doing and what good your industry is doing, the more people will respect you. And in people, I mean like consumers or investors, whatever that might be, and want to have more interest in your business and put you ahead of the competition again. There's also a cause for risk management of your reputation. So like Mike mentioned, this ESG criteria that's already being looked at by investors and funders, if you're not already on that path and you go for investing, can you imagine if there are another 5 businesses that are already on that roadmap, they're going to get priority looked at. So you have to have the financial viability, absolutely, but this will add extra value to your business and people will want to invest in you more. In addition to that, it's great marketing content. So that's what I'm going to come back to, obviously. All of this is amazing marketing content. All of this you can talk about, provided you've got the data and the evidence to back it up, which I'll come on to in a bit. Then it's great marketing content. You can grab people's attention. You can talk about the collaborative partnerships you've got. You can talk about the efficiencies you've had. You can talk about the social impacts that you're having with that data. And that's really important storytelling stuff that people love. They love to consume things like that. Don't we all have a story? Right? We all have a story, yeah? Okay, and then there's this. So it's a bit of an elephant in the room. I've got to talk about legislation a little bit. So there are certain businesses at level of turnover and certain industries that are already having to report, and it's EU-led, or it has been EU-led to start with. And that's distilling down now into businesses that perhaps aren't in those industries. Then it'll go to small, medium businesses. Then it'll be non-EU parent companies but have sites in Europe, and so it goes on. So that will filter through. If you're already operating in Europe, you're going to have that consideration anyway if you're not already. But equally, literally any minute now, probably not right today, we're due to have our own disclosure standards issued by the government. So we will have to report as UK businesses at some point. And again, it might be that we're looking 6 or 12 months to prepare, so we don't have to report till 2027 on 2026 data, which is fine. That's great. We can get all our things in order. That's great. And it'll probably be phased by size and credentials, but don't take my word for it because I don't know yet. the thing is, do we want to wait? Do we want to wait for a Brexit thing where we're all beaten over the head and have to invest loads of money on certain people to do audits and get paperwork sorted and everything else? Or would you rather embrace it as being more responsible businesses and business owners and get ahead of the game and do this anyway? So when the time comes where you have to report, you've got the data there, it's dead easy. There's no headache. So where do we start? So we start small, like anything else really. Doing an initial sustainability assessment, so looking at your carbon emissions. There's loads of tools on the internet you can use for free where you can just do a carbon emissions analysis and it gives you your percentage, and it often versus your industry as well, so you can see where your benchmark is. As long as you've got a starting point, you can see where you're going next in your progress. So looking at stretch targets maybe, so even if you're looking at emissions or you're looking at water usage or energy usage, what could you do next year? What could you do to reduce that? Set yourself some targets so we know where we're going. Make sure it's on your agenda. Again, if an investor comes to you, like Mike was saying about looking at ESG criteria, if it's on your agenda as a bit of a whim, they're probably going to see through it. So it has to be aligned with your purpose and your values of your business. Otherwise, it just doesn't mean anything. Okay, working out strategy and roadmap. So reviewing your current processes and outputs. There's not a business I've met yet that doesn't have good news stories, that isn't already doing something in this. They just don't necessarily recognize it, or they're not telling people about it. Okay? So there will be stuff that you're already doing or your organisation's already doing that you can capture and you can start communicating. It's about building that narrative around that and planning the communications so you can expose that to the world. And then building the sustainability narrative. And as a starting point, the UN Sustainable Development Goals are a great way to do that because it's got 17 elements. You can just pick them off. Which ones are we already addressing? So for example, you might be already giving a higher than fair wage, for example. So you're already addressing the no poverty element. It might be you're already looking at water usage and how you reduce that. So you're already looking at element 6. Whatever that is, it's a really great way just to benchmark where you are now. And that's what you need to do to start with, just showing progress. So assess your impact. So keep measuring. Again, how will you know if you're progressing if you're not measuring? So benchmark, measure, establish your metrics, frequency, and who's going to do the reporting. And start collaborating. We all know that teamwork is way better than singular one-person work. Okay? You deliver so much more. Plus the fact you can amplify your story and widen the reach. There's nothing better than having two organisations who've done an amazing project together can both do the PR process on that. You get much wider reach, much more impact. And then, again, measure, measure, measure. It's all going to be about measure. It's all about data. It's all about evidence and proof. And there's a reason for that because you're protecting yourself. So you can be really transparent and honest and authentic about what you're doing and the impact that you're having on communities or in your workplace, on the culture, on the industry, whatever that might be, even on the net zero targets. And then communicate with joy. Tell people about it. Be happy and proud that you're doing this stuff. There's nothing wrong with saying, this is where we are now, this is where we're hoping to be, and we'll keep you posted on how we get on. That is a story in itself. So collate the evidence, create purposeful narrative that's aligned, again, with your purpose and values. There's no point in putting stuff out and people saying, well, why are you doing that? It doesn't even make sense for your business. So make sure it's really aligned, otherwise it's not authentic. Plan the communications as you would do with all your marketing, clearly, because everyone does that, right? And measures it, yeah. That's what I thought, yeah. So channels, medium, audience, whatever that might be, and engage with your audience. Present them a reason to choose you and to tell other people to choose you. And I have put a little caveat there without sounding too preachy, because we don't get too preachy, or state in the competition, because, yeah, we don't do that. So authenticity is absolutely critical, okay? So the fear of greenwashing is absolutely real. There's no doubt about it. I talk to businesses quite often who say, well, it's all well and good, we're doing this stuff, but we're too frightened to say it, because what if someone calls us out? If you've got the data and the evidence and the proof, they can call you out if they want to, but you've got the data there. What you're saying is not a lie. It is what it is, and you've got the proof there. So if you're doing social work in the community or you're impacting the community, you need to work out a way how to actually capture that and prove that that's the good work you do. And that might be listening boards in the community. It might be videos from people who you've impacted or your business has impacted. Okay? So closing thoughts. I don't know what I'm doing for time. Am I on time? Am I? Oh, God. I've raced through. Sorry if I've been a bit preachy, actually. I feel a bit preachy. So sustainability is not just a trend. It's not just a buzzword. It's a massive opportunity. And hopefully today I've given you some idea. It's very short. It's very, very brief. I'm so sorry. But I could talk for hours on it, quite literally. It is an opportunity if you want to embrace it. my advice is embrace it now, see what you're doing now, talk about the good stories, make sure you've got the evidence there, and then have a little roadmap to success, whatever that success might be for your business. The future of the business will be valued, and probably is being valued, as Mike said, on financial and social values. We want our businesses to last. You need to protect them, and you need to beat your competition to be able to do that. Clarity, authenticity, and will deliver the confidence to communicate. So stand up and tell what great organisations you're working for, and give people a good reason to invest in you. And that is it. I'll be around in the break if you have any questions, but otherwise feel free to link up with me on LinkedIn, or as Paul mentioned, I've got my podcast, which is the Responsible Marketing Podcast. Please have a listen or a watch on YouTube, or if you want to guest or you've got a suggestion for a guest, I'd love to hear it. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right,
Thank you.
thanks.